Faith and Hudson and Garrett and John that I would be back this year to come visit them. Do you remember me? Oh, come on, children. Come on up here. Let me tell you about me. Come on.
Garrett, take Hudson up. Take Hudson up. Garrett, come on.
Come on up here.
Oh.
Sit down here.
Not Santa, Garrett. Santa.
Okay. Y'all need to turn around so you can see. This way over here. All right. Well, it is so good to be with you again. Who remembers what my name is? All right. Be it John, what is it?
St. Nicholas.
Nicholas. That's right. And Nicholas means basically victor to the people. When I was young like you, I lived many, many, many years ago in a town called Patara. And it was in the area of Lycia. So as you can see there, that as a young man, my parents were rich, and I had everything that I needed. But there was a great disease that came through, and as that disease came through, my mom and dad died because of that disease. Then I went to live in a monastery. You can see here's a picture of the monastery. And there, I lived with my uncle for a while, and I, like my parents, learned to love the Lord. And I wanted to do the same thing to the Lord that he did, and that was to help people. So I decided to give my money away. And there was, in the town, there were 3 daughters, and they were not wealthy at all. And their father was going to have to sell them into slavery. I took some of my money. I took 1 bag of gold, and I took it to the house, and I dropped it in the window. And the father was then able to take that money, and he was able to save one of his daughters. And I did that another night, and then I went to a 3rd night, and I dropped the gold into the window, and when it dropped in the window, it fell into the shoes. The father wanted to know who was giving the gold, and he stood up that night. And he chased me down, and he found out who I was. And I asked him to promise that he would never tell who I was. Do you think he lived up to that promise? No. So therefore, people know about that story. But anyway, 3 bags of gold I gave away. I gave away all of my money. Then I decided I wanted to go see where Jesus lived. So I traveled to Jerusalem. And when I was in Jerusalem, I lived in a cave. And here's a picture of the cave that I lived in, and I lived in that for many years. And I saw all the places that Jesus lived and all the things that he taught, and I was marveled at the stories and the truth about Jesus Christ. I love this time of year because this time of the year is the Advent. The Advent means the coming of Christ. And I love that about Jesus because Jesus is coming in order to save us, right? Now then, on the way back home, I took a ship. And that ship, as we were coming across, there was a huge storm. And in that storm, it just tossed us about. It broke the rudder. And y'all know what the rudder is. The rudder is what guides the ship, right? When you break that, the ship is helpless in the water. And I prayed to God that he would have mercy on us. And God did give us mercy. And we were helpless and we floated. And we floated. We had no way to be able to guide the ship. Guess where our ship landed? In my hometown of Patara. From that time on, I've had a special relationship with sailors. Many sailors throughout the centuries have called me their patron saint. Now, also from there, then I became a bishop and a priest. And as you can see here, there is a map of the ancient world. Now that in the pink portion is controlled by Rome. And the Roman emperor in those days was an evil emperor, and he did not want Christians in his empire. So he sent men and soldiers to me to convince me to change, to disavow my faith in Christ. I refused to do that. Therefore, they threw me in jail. And I stayed in jail for years. Finally, there was a man that became an emperor that was for Christ. His name was Constantine. And here you see a picture of his coronation. But Constantine became, and I came out, and I was taken out of jail, and I went back to the towns that I lived in. Now, when I was in the town, there was a great famine that came about. The famine is a time when the weather does not allow the crops to grow, and people starve, and they die of death because of starvation. What I prayed about was that God would deliver my people. There were 3 ships that showed up in the harbor. And as they showed up, they were full of grain, and they were headed for Constantinople, another great city. I went down to talk to the ship captain, and I said, we need some grain for my people. He says, I can't give you any grain because every grain on this ship has been sold to the people of Constantinople, and they will know that I'm not delivering what they have already paid for. I pleaded to the captain that says, trust in God. Trust in God that He will solve this issue. The man believed him, he gave him the grain he needed, and we were able then to save many lives in my town, in my area, because the grain was used to grow crops and to feed the people. Guess what happened when the ship showed up? When the ship showed up, it had exactly the amount they needed in order to take care of the people of Constantinople. There was not 1 ounce that was lost. So God gave us a miracle, and He blessed the captain, and He blessed us. Now, after the great miracle there, as you find, that I am celebrated in many parts of the world. As you can see here in the Ukraine and Netherlands, these are pictures of St. Nicholas. And sometimes you'll see me coming in on a donkey. Sometimes you see me coming in on a white horse. A lot of places in the world, they like to leave carrots at nighttime, so as when St. Nicholas visits, they will be able to feed the donkeys and the horses. Next picture you see is also of Bavaria. That's a province in Germany. So you see the Germans are celebrating my day, St. Nicholas. And the next picture shows you a picture of the Netherlands. The Netherlands has lots of water, and lots of dams, and lots of canals. As you can see here, I'm coming in on a boat. So you see that many people throughout the world celebrate my day. Also in my town is Myra. Myra is the town where I was the bishop. That's where my last days I lived. And I spent all of my last days in helping the poor and taking care of the sick and caring for the people. And that was where I died. And that was where I was buried. But in Myra, because now under Muslim rule, they only allow my cathedral to be open 1 day a year. And that's on St. Nicholas Day. And as you can see them there here, they're celebrating not 1 day a year, but they're allowed to open the church and celebrate there. But I think that's a great blessing that they're allowed to celebrate even on that 1 day. All right, so that's a little bit about my life. All right? Now, you remember that some of my gold dropped into the shoes of one of the daughters. You may find some gold also. As you can see, the next picture shows a typical picture of me. And one of the things that you can always kind of identify me, you see the 3 little round balls? Well, those are 3 round balls that represent the 3 bags of gold. 3 bags of gold that I gave to the 3 daughters in order to save them from slavery. It was a great time to be with you kids. I look forward to you. I think you're going to find that there are some gifts that you will find later on. And so I want you to know that it's a great time to be here with you. And I will see you next year. Okay? You too, Garrett. Faith, I'm going to miss you, but I'll see you guys all next year. Y'all be good kids this year, okay? All right, I'll be watching.